This is Bucket Talk, a weekly podcast for people who work in the trades and construction that aren't just trying to survive, but have the ambition and desire to thrive. The opportunity in the trades and construction is absolutely ridiculous right now. So if you're hungry, it's time to eat. We discuss what it takes to rise from the bottom to the top with people who are well on their way and roll up their sleeves every single day. Hey guys, we are back with episode 4 of Bucket Talk. This is the first episode of probably a kind of a reoccurring cadence that we're calling Not Average, basically, for a bunch of different trades. And we're fortunate here to, this one's going to be focused on not your average excavator, basically. Jeremy called me a few weeks ago and said, dude, you cannot believe this guy that I know. He's 19 years old. He's absolutely crushing it. I said, well, what does that mean? He's like, he was literally 17 in high school. He was a junior in high school, started excavating then, stayed in high school to play football, and then his senior year took advantage of essentially a high school kind of co-op type program. Also got a big excavator supplier to give him a $60,000 machine essentially without credit, which, you know, a kid at that age wasn't able to get, and did almost $500,000 in revenue his senior of high school. And I almost fell off my chair and literally made me think, what the hell am I doing with my life at age 33? So we're here with Mike DeStasio, runs his own excavation company. Can you, Jeremy, give us a quick, you know him personally, give us a quick intro to how you met Mike, what you think about Mike, and so on and so forth.
So, believe it or not, I actually know all of Mike's family, immediate family, and a good group of people I definitely associate with regularly. And Mike is somebody that impressed me from the get-go. He is a guy that just has an incredible work ethic. Young age, you don't see that right now. It's something that is just kind of a unicorn of the industry. And he, when I first met him, he told me what he was doing, had a Bobcat service, and was doing that. And I was like, wow, this is something I really need to get behind, really need to help him. And he calls me every now and again for certain things. And Mike has always impressed me. He's definitely a person that, I would love to hang out with on a daily basis. And, Mike, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you for having me. Really, the backstory about it is sort of was always into trucks and equipment at a young age. The classic, had trucks growing up, had all the toys, the models, whatever. Was always sort of into it, tried to work for other people and realized I'm sort of rather be my own boss. Yeah. Really, I can't, not that I can't take direction, but I'd rather be the ringleader than one of the people on the circus. So decided to go out, buy my own Bobcat at 17. Kept that for 8-9 months, did what I could with it, and then realized that sort of maintenance on that type of thing is sort of, they get used and abused, that piece of equipment. So I ended up selling it to buy a brand new piece of equipment at 18. I had that new piece of equipment. It sort of all took off from there. I bought an excavator shortly thereafter, and then.
But at 17, you're a junior in high school. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, the fact that you're thinking about you have the entrepreneur spirit. You're thinking about this stuff at age 17. What got you there? What made you decide to do this? I mean, how did it click? I mean, 17, I was like, I don't know, playing hacky sack and all sorts of stupid stuff. What were you doing?
I honestly don't really know what I was doing to really get into it. It was just sort of see where it takes me, and it sort of took me in the right direction, I guess. I don't know.
So did you have any outside influences? Somebody that...
I mean, yes and no. I saw like all the big companies, like the big nice trucks, like, that would be cool. Like my name going down the road. Yeah, that would be, how can I build that?
So that really grabbed you, huh?
Yeah, I was not the like name, but it's like, these guys can do dirt work, make a lot of money at it, have nice trucks. Like, what can I do?
What was your very first job when you got your new Bobcat?
Probably some sort of landscape, something simple to do that I couldn't really mess up.
Now, I had a friend call me, and they said, I need somebody to come up and pull some shrubs out. And I didn't know that shrubs could be so embedded close to a foundation that where you have something so small on the top, but you have such a massive root system. So they said that, they had called a Craigslist guy, and the Craigslist guy was like, yeah, I could pull it out with my Jeep. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. So I said, I got a friend of mine that does, he has a Bobcat service. So he went over there. Instantly, I got a phone call from them after the fact. And it was Mike. I said, Mike does this stuff. He's very professional, and he'll get over there. He went over there, ripped them things out. And so there's a lot of smaller jobs that I think you could latch onto at a young age, but you got to realize them. And for me, I don't have that entrepreneur spirit yet, but you seem to have, kind of figured out which way you were going to go.
Yeah, the niche, sort of. There's a fine line because anyone can go out and dig a hole. You have to sort of find your niche and what really, not that I wasn't happy, but like spreading loom in a yard to have someone a new lawn really wasn't my thing. My thing was pipe work, utilities, foundations, like site work type stuff. So that's where I really found my niche and where it really sort of took off from.
Mike, how many days a week do you work?
7.
What time are you up in the morning?
I'll get out of bed at 5:15.
What motivates you at 5:15 in the morning?
Buy a new truck.
There you go.
Buy another truck.
Yeah.
Yep.
So have you constantly traded up trucks, or how does that work?
My first truck was a 2010 F-250.
Oh, you're a Ford guy? Jeez,
Yeah,
come on
Ford
now.
Guy. That was my first truck. I had that for probably like a year.
Right.
And then I'm very visual, so I looked around, what's everyone else using? What's making their job easier? And I found a utility body. I bought a brand new utility body for that 10-year-old truck at the time and put that body on it, expensive body, like $8,000-$9,000 body on this 10-year-old truck, and then said, this really isn't, it was a gas truck. This really isn't pulling a Bobcat like it should. Then about a year ago, I bought a 2014 F-350 diesel, which I traded that truck for in addition to the whatever money on top. And that's sort of not at the stage yet where I can comfortably purchase a brand new truck yet, because it's just the market, everything's just so expensive nowadays. It's sort of.
So what stands out to me about this conversation you guys are having is a lot of young folks, they get into the trades, they make some good dough, some good cash. They want to go buy a sweet Ford or sweet Chevy. What Mike didn't totally touch on, which is very different, is he was reinvesting into his business to actually buy a better work truck, not to buy a flashy truck to impress the ladies or whatever. It's actually to reinvest into his business to actually make him more efficient and more productive, more professional, show up on a job site. So very fundamental difference, which I'm not from the trade. So I'm like, I want a Ford Raptor. Mike wanted nothing to do with a freaking Ford Raptor. He wanted the bigger truck with the bigger bed. And so very fundamental difference, I think, which is a big takeaway for a lot of young guys that make a lot of cash really young, right?
Yeah, they get over their heads on stuff. They see the money and it's sort of like, I'll go buy the $100,000 truck and drive around in it. When really, that's not going to benefit you. It's more, I would like a nice truck showing up to a job site, but it's I'd rather have everything I need to go to work than a nice truck.
But so I said in episode 1, and I really want to reiterate the fact that, I myself am no expert. I want to speak as the trades, not to the trades. I'm living, breathing it just as, guys like you and others are doing. And I want to make sure that people realize that you did this all on your own, and this is something that was hard work, was a vision of yours, and is a work in progress. You consistently make mistakes.
Yep.
You have consistently been yelled at on job sites, but you've done a few things right. I mean, tell me about a situation or what you've done right or what you've come into that was good, that you're like, wow, I can't believe I fell into this contract versus another one where you're like, I can't believe I just did that. I shouldn't have even had this job. I've heard over time that people have said, it's better to go work for somebody. But what sets you apart from others by not going to work for somebody?
The main thing is what you're passionate about. I'm sort of passionate about, I like to work in the dirt, obviously, but I like clean trucks going to
Right.
That's what I think. I see all these guys in our local area. There are a couple big guys that have spotless trucks that go work in the dirt. How is that possible? That's sort of a passion I've always sort of had.
Clean sites, clean trucks.
Yeah, you sort of try to. It's not the motto, but that's sort of how you want to carry yourself. How is this guy that digs holes so clean, and how his job site is so perfect when it's should be a mess, really.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could go work for someone and keep their truck clean, but it's a lot more lucrative, and you can do it more your way when it's your trucks and your name going down the road on them.
Right. Absolutely. So do you do anything other than excavation? What does excavation entail? We're up in New England. Do you do anything? What do you do during the winter months?
So in the winter, it's snow plowing. On a bad winter like we're having this year, it still works sort of. Usually you'll see a slowdown in October, and work will start to sort of taper off because the ground's going to start freezing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So in the winter, we'll snow plow, but the rest of the months, really focusing on site work and utilities. So that's where I feel I can be most lucrative in my business, and pipe work, so water services for houses, sewer lines, foundations, that sort of thing is really the higher level of excavation I want to get to.
One thing, I'm not from the trade, so I do a little bit of homework in running off the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, which is the most accurate data for the trades, in case you guys are interested and want to dig in on it yourself. Knowing Mike was coming here under the excavation, and he does a lot more than that, but we're kind of bucketing him on the Bucket Talk umbrella under that. He falls under the operating engineers and other construction equipment operators. What's interesting is there's 365,000 people in the U.S. that fall under that category that are operating on a daily basis. The average annual wage is about $52,000. Average is tricky. You have people that are making $10,000 that are working part-time, but you also have people that are making, millions of dollars on the upper end. And Mike is in that vein of the world, which is why he's here. We're focusing on the top performers here. The top 10% of that industry, the average wage is $82,000. And so
it seems a little low.
That's a good soundbite. But as you think about, across the middle of the country, and I'd say that's pretty aspirational at the end extreme.
For no college, you don't need anything, really. It's just seat time in a machine. Anyone can sort of do it.
You obviously need the experience, but you could be 20 years old, 2 years into the job, and earning that type of cash. And in Mike's experience, he's 2 years into his job. He's only 19, and he's my guess is earning multiples of that. So there's the opposite end of that extreme. And so, this stat is more to show this is a ridiculously lucrative chance to get into. And so
at a young age.
Why are you the 20%?
Tricky question. Really, it's sort of how you think. It's really how you carry yourself in this sort of business.
Always.
How what you do, willing to work that shitty day where you're in a mud hole that you're up to your waist in the water and not complain while you have one of your guys up in the heated machine in the winter type deal. It's sort of it's your work ethic, really. If you're gonna be that picky guy that will only sit in the machine or something like that, where you need to get out. You can't just be that guy that you're just sitting in the machine.
No, yeah, I agree with you. You have to be well-rounded. That's how I started out. You have to do the jobs that people don't want to do. You got to gain the respect.
Late nights,
absolutely. The 7 days a week. You're
owning your own business, the paperwork, you're everything. You're the operator, the truck driver, the bidder, the accountant. You're everything.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the jobs that you do. Are you government contract? Are you residential?
Not yet. Where I'm more sort of a residential commercial type guy. Networking's a huge thing in my field with what I'm sort of trying to attack. So like year-round work for builders, like building new houses where they need the site work, utilities, that sort of stuff done. So I was fortunate enough to get in with a couple high-end builders in Newton, Arlington, the more affluent cities in Massachusetts, to where I'm having almost year-round work that are hundreds of thousands of dollars each project, which is a pretty quick turnaround. I can finish $100,000 job in 2-3 weeks.
But now, are you doing the jobs that major excavation companies don't want, where others would turn them down? You're grabbing whatever you can get to try to build your brand.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with networking is if you do good by a builder, they'll use, or like someone like that, they'll stick with you sort of no matter what they won't go out and get another price from someone else type deal.
Right.
So if you do good by them and you treat them fair and vice versa, you'll have constant work no matter what so another guy could come in lower than me, but they're still going to use me for whatever reasons. I keep a neat site. I
clean, on time, you do what you say.
Yeah.
You come in on budget,
stuff like that. You're not gouging them with a change order, something like that, to where even if the next guy in line's $10,000 cheaper, he's still going to choose you because...
So let's talk about a personal situation me and Mike had. I had a driveway at my house that needed to be paved. And I got a quote, and it was an additional. It wasn't anything that needed to be done now. It was... And I called a paving company local to us, and they gave me an astronomical price. And I was like... I said to my wife, this isn't happening. But then we had a bad rainstorm, and it washed probably a foot and a half, like, gash across my driveway. And I went and saw a guy. He gave me some grindings or millings, which is recycled asphalt, to put in there, pack it down, and that kind of got me through. But then I thought about it. I was like, hey, you know what? I can get my driveway redone with something either recycled or what have you.
Yep.
And this isn't to say that as me and Mike grow together, this is a true testament to the character of owning your own mistakes. And I'm not saying it was a mistake, but it was a learning experience
for both of us.
For both of us. So I called Mike and I said, hey, what can you do? And he said, we'll put down some stone. It'll look great. He came down with some stone, I had a 10-wheeler up there, dumped some stone, spread it out. It was great. It was unbelievable.
Looked good.
It looked unbelievable. And I think it was 3/4 stone?
Yep. Crushed stone.
3/4 crushed stone. So sure enough, I go to drive on it. It was hard to get out.
The driveway's a little bit of an incline.
Yeah.
You got to keep that in mind. It's not a flat.
No, I mean,
it's not a flat.
And this is, like I said, this isn't a shit on Mike by any means, but this is one of those learning experiences, and how Mike actually took the situation, owned it, and moved on.
Yeah.
And so he said to me, he goes, you really can't get up? And I was like, no. And Mike, I didn't want to say anything. We have a great working relationship, but I just got
messed up.
Yeah. Exactly. So Mike came over. He scooped all the stone out. We reused it for another part. He came back he worked with a local company that was doing. So for people that don't realize, like when you're doing road work on major routes, a lot of times the trucking companies have to bring it to a certain area. But if they can do it quicker, they get paid per load. So a lot of times they look for
a dump site somewhere.
A dump site, but not like
a trash dump.
Exactly.
Like someone who needs the material somewhere. Yep.
So Mike, having his ear to the grindstone, knows that. All right, I know that something's being done on this route. It's close to your house. I'll contact the company. Contacted the company. They dropped a load at the house. It was good for the truck driver. It was good. It was good for everybody involved. And then Mike spread it out, and the absolute, to be honest with you, the joy that I had at the fact that my driveway is unbelievable now. It's great. And, we recycled, we adapted, he overcame, the customer was happy. He admitted his mistake. But at the same time, it was a mistake that, anybody could have made, but he owned it. He moved forward, and it was the most amazing thing that any contractor has done. Because time after time you see with contractors,
Not my problem.
exactly. And you get what you get. And that's, I think, what makes him the 20%. And actually, even better than that, the 1% in the fact that he said, you know what, Jeremy, I'm sorry. I'll make it right. And he did. And he did it in a timely fashion. And, I'll sing his praises day in and day out.
Sometimes you sort of just got to face defeat on that one and just sort of eat it up, and whatever happened. You're just going to make it right by the customer. It's sort of your name on the line to screw up, so you can't really mess it up now.
And from my perspective, what's interesting is, we always on the weekends and nights, we talk about education versus experience, which we'll probably talk about in a future episode. But at this time, Mike's 19 years old. He's been in this business for really 2 years. The fact that he's doing jobs of this size, the expectation is he's going to make mistakes. And his reputation is, if I make them, I have no option but to fix them if I want to stay in business. And the fact that he's doing it is actually going to make his reputation really solid versus, by the time he's 25, which is ridiculous to think 6 years from now, he'd be out of business if he wasn't doing it. And he's got the time, he's young enough, he doesn't have a lot of the liabilities, Jeremy, that you and I have kids and family yet. And so it's like he's doing the right things at the right age, and he's trading off the learning from someone else on their dime, learning on his own dime. But at the end of the day, he's going to come out on that running his own company.
But I mean, Eric, to chime in, this is what makes these guys that come in at a young age the most valuable asset to you is as a consumer, you need to work with them. You need to realize that they're not going to be perfect, but you realize that there's something there. Me and Mike have worked on his trucks and realized that, it took us a couple of times to figure something out, or we did something wrong, or it just wasn't the right decision. It may not have been the right truck or the right purchase or whatever, but it has always been growing pains. But at the same time, for the customer, it needs to be the same. The customer themselves need to realize that, see the potential in Mike. Mike's a young kid. I should invest in his future because these big companies that we rely on day in and day out, they're not there in 10, 20 years. Who's going to be the next person to come up? You know what? It's people like Mike that we need to rely on, and we really need to sit down and say, hey, I need to be patient, and I need to...
Yeah, it doesn't always go to plan, but...
Right.
It sort of helps when the consumer of it is sort of not on your back about... Not everything, but if something goes wrong and you're trying to fix it and they're sort of on you about it, it doesn't really help the problem at all.
And I think it's important because this is an unusual episode. Not only is it a young guy dominating in the trades, but it's also it hits the entrepreneur button, which is a hot topic right now. But from Mike's perspective, it's, if he was been in this for 20 years, he could say, listen, here's the price, here's the quote, I'm going to do it. But from his perspective, he shows up and says, hey, listen, here's the price, here's the quote. It might be a little bit lower because he doesn't have 10 years of experience. But also, if anything in this process goes wrong, I guarantee you I'm going to make it right. That's how he's going to win jobs against people who are, future Mikes, right?
Yeah,
are when he's 40, he's going to be like, hey, here's the price, here's a quote. I don't make mistakes, I don't screw up.
So Mike, as we sit here and talk and we hash things out, I just want to get one takeaway from you, and maybe two. It might turn into two, but I really want to get that one takeaway. What has been the one thing that has set you above the rest, that has really, been your go-to every day, something that really helped you get ahead in life?
Really, the main business-wise, I definitely say is sort of who you know, sort of like networking almost. Who are you going to... Something ever went wrong, who's that guy you're going to call to sort of bail you out if you ever need? And networking's a really big aspect to not necessarily trades, but especially my field, because it's very easy to get yourself into a bind where you need that guy to come pull your stuck truck out, or the guy to call to borrow his machine because yours broke down. Stuff like that, to where really it's who you know and like where you're going to get like constant work from. So your builders you work with, your guys that are too busy to get to the work that are going to say, I can't do it, but I have this great guy I know that can handle it and do as good as a job of me, if not better.
So have you ever gotten over your head but still made it work? I mean,
all the time. Happens all the time.
So you owe So you owe somebody a favor, not a favor for a favor, but somebody's giving you the job, and then they're in a bind, and you got to go over there. But do you constantly sacrifice? How do you make it all work?
Sort of like day by day almost. You just gotta feel it out. You never really. I could have a game plan that on paper is gonna work, and then you get to the job and it's like, okay, well doesn't even work here. Couldn't even in the perfect world couldn't work.
So on networking, this is a riot, and this is a little bit of comedic hour is the fact that I plow snow with my boss's son. We run a route together in our hometown, and Mike happens to cross over from time to time into our town, and so me and Chris, we happen to be in opposing driveways, and I pushed the snowbank too far, and my plow got stuck on the other side of the snowbank, so I couldn't get out. So in that moment, I decided to call Chris, and Chris was in the process of calling me. He had done the same thing. So the two of us both had tow chains. We're both each other's saving grace, are sitting in opposing driveways stuck.
Now what?
Exactly. So this is where networking comes in. I mean, to make light of the situation, we called Mike. Mike pulled us both out, gave us a little bit of shit. But it was one of those things that, if we didn't have that network,
that's a $250 tow right there.
Times two.
Exactly.
So it was very nice to be able to have people like that. And it's not just Mike. That's kind of why we want to shake hands across our trades in general, is the fact that, I don't know when I'm going to need somebody to teach me how to solder, or, I don't know when I'm going to, somebody's going to teach me how to do woodwork or excavate or whatever. And I think it's a true testament to Mike to be able to talk to people, to learn, and to be able to, grab the jobs that people are struggling with, and vice versa. I'm sure there's people that have come to your aid and helped you out.
Yeah, all the time. Not even 2 years into it. Really, if I were to say, I'm sort of a year into it, because those first year or two was really, I was still in high school, so I was only working 2:30 to 6, 7 actually at people's houses, and then senior year was more, got out at 11:30, got to the job by like 12:30-ish, worked till 6 or 7, whenever. Takes a special breed to do this, definitely, but it's not, anyone can sort of hop into it and sort of make it work to where you're comfortable enough to go out there and bid on jobs and do these things. It doesn't, not a special breed by any means. Sort of anyone out of high school or whenever, could be 20, could be 50, could get into this and sort of go at it.
So to be in the top 1%, and I'm not saying it to scare people away, but what kind of sacrifices have you made?
Yeah, it takes that. I mean, the one big thing that would jump out at me is when all my friends left for college. It's like, now what do? You just, all your friends are gone now. So most of my friends went out of state school, so they were gone regardless. But that was really the big thing. It's now what do you do? Now it's like the real world. You're working every day. And
right, but I could shed a little bit of light on that in the fact that, I'm probably 10, 15 years older than you, and I realize now that I'm not going to say that those friends didn't matter, because I know how close you are to those friends, but you realize, as you move forward in life, the bonds you create, the friends you have constantly change.
Yep.
And so, staying home is not as,
not like a punishment. It's sort of
it's just
path you chose to.
Right. No,
I'm not saying that was my route I went. That was where I wanted to go. That's sort of the big thing, and really sleep. I mean, by the time I get home at night and get home, leave my shop at 9, 10 o'clock, get home, do paperwork for a little bit. It's 11:30, 12 o'clock, and 5:30 rolls around pretty quick up in the morning to get up and go do it again.
If you guys couldn't tell, Mike's probably one of the most humble people that we've ever had on this show, probably ever will, at such a young age. And so I'd say we talk about being in the 20% of your trade and doing 20%. 20% of the trade does 80% of the work. Mike's unusual. He's the 1% that does 99% of it. We don't want to at all paint the picture that he's the stereotypical excavator, because he is a little bit unusual. But we do want to show you what hard work ethic, focus, dedication, passion can surmount to, and it's not completely unattainable. Nothing he's done is that
Out of
like
reach
ridiculous,
for anyone.
right?
Yeah.
It's just consistent, show up, deliver, learn, move on. And so, the high level takeaway here is not to even focus on the fact that he's 19 years old doing multi-million dollars in revenue a year. The fact is, whether you're 30, whether you're 40 and you're 50, and you wake up and you say, what the hell am I going to do with my life? In full-time a year, you could argue 2 years with his senior year of high school. In 2 years, he went from literally knowing nothing about the excavation world to running his own company with his own employees, his own payroll. He makes his own decisions. He deals with the stress of that. But like, that's a ridiculously fast pace. And if you think it's going to take you 10, 20 years to get there, he's the perfect example that it's not. Hopefully that's the big takeaway today is how fast he's accomplished what he's accomplished. And so
That's what anyone can really hop in and do it.
and thanks, Mike, for taking time out of your day. We know you'd actually probably be working on your business right now. So the fact that you even came here at this hour is taking actually literally money out of your pocket and time out of your experience. And so we're glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be back next week with another episode. And any questions, comments, we'd love to hear it down below. And either Mike or Jeremy or myself will jump in and go back and forth. Thanks, guys.